Welcome, dear readers. You're listening to Time to Read, a Winnipeg Public Library podcast book club. We're recording today from the Millennium Library in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, which is within Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ininew, and Dakota peoples, and in the National Homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. In this episode, we will be discussing Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk. I'm Dennis from the Idea Mill, and I'm a Sagittarius. Apparently, Mercury, Jupiter, and Neptune grouped near the moon sharpened my mind and love of reading, which explains the whole working at the library thing. Across the table from me is...
I'm Toby. I'm an outreach librarian based out of here at Millennium Library, and as of today, July 30th, 2026, there's an Aquarius full moon. Venus and Mars are in tense alignment, and the Sun and Jupiter are lined up in Leo, which is a rare alignment which only happens once every 12 years and brings extreme confidence, bursts of good luck, and a strong desire to share your creative talents with the world. So good timing on our behalf.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and across the table for me is...
Hi, I'm Trevor from the Windsor Park Library, and I'm not sure if I suffer from lazy Venus syndrome or testosterone autism. Maybe both.
A good book can carry me away from an ever-urgent, ordinary day, yeah. So keep it down, leave me alone, close the doors and turn off the phone, 'cause all I ever really need is a little more time to read.
And you, dear readers, we wouldn't do this without you. If you've got comments about what we've read, or maybe some book suggestions, we'd love to hear it. You can find our email address and all our social media outlets by going to our website at wpl-podcast.winnipeg.ca and scrolling to the bottom of the page. Hang out till the end of the episode to enjoy our most gripping segment, Nerd Words for Word Nerds. Before we proceed further, let's check in with the panel. I forgot if anyone wanted to check in.
Well, I didn't know that you guys are both going to lead with astrology horoscope stuff, and I printed out today's horoscopes for each of us.
Oh.
Now, I don't know what your signs are, and I don't know if you want to reveal them on air, but I've got them all here.
Didn't Dennis just say he was Sagittarius?
I just gave mine away.
You said Sagittarius? Okay, very
Yeah.
good. We'll go with you, Dennis. And this is from thepeoplemagazine.com, so a very reputable source for all astrology. What do the Sages do? Oh, it's a late year birthday. Hey, Dennis? You could receive a piece of information that changes your perception of someone or something. Remember to ask questions before filling in the blanks yourself. Your imagination is vivid, and this isn't an investigation. What? Okay, whatever. Okay.
It seems to be specifically about the podcast. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Joey, how are you feeling?
Sure, Cancer.
All right. Did you just recently have a birthday?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Happy birthday, belated, of course. I know that because cancers are from June 21st to July 21st, and we're recording on July 30th, 2026. A financial or emotional arrangement needs clearer terms. This doesn't have to be a dramatic confrontation, just an adult conversation about who owes what and why. Draw a line in the sand if necessary. Oh, good to know. You know,
Okay.
you never know when that comes
Yeah.
up. Myself.
Sounds a lot less podcasty, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a Taurus. Oh, God, what is it? You're being watched more closely than you realize, especially at work. Show up as your best self, like someone who belongs and can contribute. Don't second guess yourself. If not you, then who?
Oh.
What a roller coaster.
Well, you are being observed in the sense that this is a recording that will be made public.
That's true, and I'm being looked at this very moment by two sets of eyes.
Both belonging to coworkers.
There you go. It came true.
100% true.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I think everything's in alignment for a great episode.
Absolutely.
We can hope so. Any other check-in items?
I think that was enough.
That was enough?
Yeah, that was maybe more
Okay.
than enough.
So Toby is going to tell us about the author, and then Trevor is going to give us a summary of the book.
All right. Olga Tokarczuk was born January 29th, 1962, so I think that makes her an Aquarius. She was born in Western Poland. Her parents were both teachers, and her father was also the school librarian, so she spent a lot of time at the library reading everything she could get her hands on. She studied clinical psychology at the University of Warsaw and was very influenced by Carl Jung and his ideas on mythology, archetypes, and the unconscious world. She graduated in 1985. She worked as a psychotherapist in the late 1980s and wrote on the side, publishing poems and reviews in the press. Her first book, a collection of poetry called Cities and Mirrors, came out in 1989. Her first novel, The Journey of the Book People, was published in 1993. It was well received and was awarded the Polish Publishers' Prize for the best debut. Over the following decades, more acclaimed novels and essay collections followed, including Primeval and Other Times, House of Day, House of Night, and Flights, which won the Nike, Poland's most prestigious literary award. The English translation of Flights won the Man Booker International Prize in 2018, exposing her work to an audience outside of Poland. Other novels of hers include Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead, also shortlisted for the Booker, and 2014's The Book of Jacob, which also won the Nike. And Tokarczuk won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2019. And if you keep up with book news, there was a bit of a scandal recently when at an event a couple of months ago, she admitted to using AI in her creative process. And this caused quite a stir. There was a lot of chatter on the internet, and she later made a statement saying that she was misunderstood and that she uses AI, like many of us, for fact-checking and research. So take that as you will. She also claims that her current project, which will be published in Polish this fall, will be her last, believing that readers are no longer interested in complex literary work.
Oh.
And she also has really cool dreadlocks.
Huh.
Yeah. I know Dennis doesn't often get the physical copies of the book, so he doesn't see what the authors look like. So
that is true.
For your benefit, she has cool dreadlocks.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I can't really tell from this photo.
It is, yeah.
These are dreadlocks?
They are, yeah.
So she's retiring from writing to focus more on AI-related projects.
Yeah, perhaps.
Good for her.
Yeah.
If AI is checking your facts, double check your facts.
Yes. Exactly. Don't let AI be your fact checker. Check the checks.
Yeah.
And not the checks, of course, because this book takes place in Poland.
Well, near Czech.
In fact,
right across the border from the Czech Republic.
I always called this the Czech Republic, but people tell me they call it Chechnya now.
Chechnya?
Chechnya?
Chechnya.
Chechnya?
No, Chechnya is a separate thing from Czech.
Is it?
Yeah. Chechnyans are an entirely different people than Czechs.
Are they
Chechens
neighbors?
are Russians, aren't they?
The Chechens are Russians.
Okay.
They're the ones that were persecuted a few years ago. Like I'm thinking like in the 90s or whatever.
I think
anyway,
we should move on before we offend
start.
any large groups of people.
The summary of this novel, which is called Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead, we have a main character who is also the narrator, whose name is Janina Desheshko. She's an older woman who lives alone. She cares deeply about animals, is a vegetarian. She has a passionate interest in astrology. But she often feels misunderstood by her neighbors who dismiss her unusual beliefs and bristle at her outspoken personality. She lives year-round in an isolated Polish village on a desolate plateau near the Czech border. During the winter months, she looks after the summer homes of her neighbors and teaches English to local school children. So our story begins when we meet Janina on a cold night in January, where she and her neighbor discover their mutual neighbor dead inside his home. He apparently choked to death on a bone stuck in his throat from a deer he had recently poached. And then she sees a group of deer huddled uncharacteristically close to her neighbor's house, and she forms a theory that nature, specifically these deer, are taking revenge on humanity for how they've been treated. As we move along, more men begin dying under similarly strange circumstances. Although the police and other residents ignore her theories, she continues investigating the mysterious events in her own way. As the story unfolds, the novel combines elements of detective fiction with philosophical discussions about justice, environmental ethics, and our relationship with nature. And through Janina, the author explores themes of morality, compassion, aging, isolation, and the limits of rational thinking. The novel blends suspense, dark humor, and social commentary, challenging readers to question conventional ideas about right and wrong while keeping the central mystery compelling right up to the end.
So we always talk about spoilers in this podcast, but I thought I'd just mention again that we are going to be sharing spoilers because the reveal of this book has a lot of information that comes out really close to the end. So if you don't like to be spoiled, don't listen right now. Listen after you've read it. But if you have read it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Have we ever done like our final thoughts first?
Our final thoughts first.
Like would we recommend this book? So if people don't want to...
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't know if we've ever done that. Maybe we shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like if someone's thinking like, should I even bother reading this? Would we encourage them to or not?
I would.
I would as well.
I'd say it's probably worth a read, yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So you can turn it off now.
Skip ahead to the end.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you get to the end, just keep it on pause because you haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
And then when you read it, take it off pause and then put it back to the beginning.
Sure.
Okay.
With all that said, how did you guys find it?
Well, I experienced this book a couple of different ways because I put it on as an audiobook on a recent road trip, and Toby will back me up with this, that audiobooks in this case are suboptimal. I wish I hadn't really done that. I wish I had read the book with my eyeballs all the way through, but here we are. The narrator spoke in a very monotone kind of pattern, didn't really try to distinguish the different characters by voice, so it was difficult to follow the different conversations. And the sections where Ininew monologues about astrology and philosophy, they were easier to follow audibly, but the content was just so esoteric that a couple of times I asked my fellow road trippers if they needed me to stop and rewind. One of them had popped her earbuds in about 3 sentences into the first chapter, so she didn't care. And the other one said, I don't think rewinding is going to help. But when I switched about halfway through to reading it, I discovered kind of a new appreciation, I think, for this story. I was able to keep the characters much clearer, and I'm glad that I continued with it. Yeah, that's sort of my initial thoughts. I don't know. I mean, this character, Yanina, is such an interesting character study. She, as we've alluded to, bases her life on following the stars and astrology, and yet she's also a person of science. She's trained as a structural engineer and has built bridges around the world first. And so very interesting, contradictory kind of person, very strongly opinionated. She always thinks that she is right and she sort of knows the true nature of things based on the stars and makes enemies and some friends along the way. The mystery itself I found less interesting until we got to the very end, and I was surprised by it, the twist, or if you want to call it the twist, or the reveal. But on the whole, I could recommend this book as being something that's kind of unique, a different voice. I don't think I've read a book by a Polish author before. And although with the translations, sometimes there's a little bit of, like there's one part where one of the characters makes a pun and is laughing to himself, and I couldn't see what the joke was. I'm thinking, well, maybe it was funny in the original Polish. I don't know if you guys remember there was a part. And but aside from that, I would recommend it.
I feel similarly, and I think maybe I found it hard to get into for the first 50-ish pages, so maybe I think the audiobook would be a struggle as well, but I think you started reading it maybe where it started picking up. I like to think I read broadly, but I realize that I read mostly English-speaking authors or authors who write in English, American, Canadian, British. So I was glad for the opportunity to read a book in translation. I don't think I do that enough. And there's just something different about this book that I can't quite put my finger on. It has this very kind of Eastern European sensibility. It's unlike a book written by an English author. And maybe that's the translation. Maybe it's the story itself. Like I said, it's a quality that I find hard to put my finger on. But I did really like it. I like Yanina a lot. I felt close to her. I feel like, that could be me in 30 years and with a few more bird feeders. And I love this little village or hamlet where she lives and all of her kooky neighbors and the Mushroom Picker Society. It felt very cozy in a way. It kind of reminded me a bit of Thursday Murder Club, but instead of wealthy English people, it was these rural Polish people having this adventure. But yeah, I did really enjoy it. Yeah.
I didn't have a consistent feel for the book as I was reading it. I think when I'd read the description of it last month on the podcast, I was expecting more of a traditional mystery, I think, where the protagonist would actually be investigating in some manner. And you don't really get that with this. There is a mystery. There are murders. There are police involved, and, they have their theories about what's happened, but no one's really trying to find anything out. And, of course, we find out why Janina isn't trying to find anything out towards the end of the book.
Well, she is writing to the police often to say it's the animals.
Yeah.
In her mind, it is the animals.
Yes.
She's just acting as their agent.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah. So it really gets into, there's a lot of astrology stuff in there. And it kind of feels like gobbledygook at a certain point. It's like, okay, this house and this sign and this, over and over and over again, which was kind of taking me out of it. I felt like the pacing was a little uneven. But then I started to appreciate it more as like a character sketch of the protagonist, of the village, of the different characters that she meets. And they were all quirky in different ways, and in ways that have not typically read. So it was interesting in that respect. It was fresh. And then towards the end of the book, suddenly all is revealed. I have to admit, it caught me completely off guard. May as well just say it out loud. Ininew is the killer. She has killed...
Well, everyone except the first...
Not Bigfoot.
Not Bigfoot, the first one.
Yeah, but...
and maybe not the priest? We're not sure.
No, she definitely killed the priest.
Like she set the fire that killed him?
Well, they don't... See, a lot of things are unsaid in this book. And this is one of those things that kind of reminds me of like The Sixth Sense, the movie. There are a lot of things that you assume have happened because why wouldn't they have happened? But there's just little gaps in the story because we're getting it all from Inenew's perspective. Yeah, so the ending kind of surprised me. But then when you look back, you see that there were hints all along the way. So it's like, okay, well, it's not that far-fetched. But it did feel to me a little like a cheat from the author's point of view. But, I mean, unreliable narrator, I think, is the thing, right?
Yeah, the My Little Girls thing I felt like was a bit heavy-handed.
Well, you see, once that phrase came up, My Little Girls, I thought, what's she referring to here? Because she just kind of out of the blue says something about her little girls. And I thought, does she have cats? No.
I thought she might be referring to the deer at first.
That's what my car companions thought.
And she had, we know that she had dogs. She'd mentioned that. But she was talking about it as if it were in the present. Like as if her little girls were there with her. And by the fourth or fifth time that My Little Girls was mentioned, I'm like, okay, I'm searching through my ebook to see where it was first mentioned. And nope, there was nothing that described what she meant by My Little Girls. You just I had to assume that she was talking about her dogs. And then later on that was confirmed that that's what she was referring to. But it just tosses it out there. Doesn't explain exactly what she means. And there was a lot of that throughout the book. And, it was easy not to really think about that too much because she's such an eclectic character. She's talking about all kinds of things all of the time. The way that she interprets the minds of the animals around her, the way that she interprets the stars and what's happening around here in those contexts. So it was a puzzle. It was kind of a misty maze type thing where you're not entirely sure exactly what's happening. You're not sure why any of this is going on. It's an interesting voyage, and then all of a sudden you come out to the clearing at the end and it's like, oh my goodness, that's what was going on. Okay. So I'm not as solid on this book as you two are in terms of liking it. In the end, I think I like it. It was interesting. It was different. So worth a read, even if I don't think it was, the greatest book, but also it wasn't terrible. And yeah, the ending kind of poses that moral question.
What I was a little confused about is, I suspected she was the killer for a while, but... What
tipped you off?
Well, just her love of the animals, you know? And that's what got a little confusing for me is when she's writing to the police saying it's the animals who are committing these murders, but wouldn't she want to protect the animals? I mean, I think at one point she does say, I don't want them prosecuted. I'm just saying it's the animals who are doing this. But she's just protecting the animals and how angry she is at the hunters and what they do. Who else would it be? I mean, there's not many characters either.
No, and I mean, it makes sense in the end when you look at it, especially when it's revealed that after Bigfoot had died, she had seen that picture of Bigfoot and the other characters that ended up dead. And in the background of the picture, she could see her dogs.
Yeah.
And that was the moment that she snapped and decided, okay, it's time for revenge, She's like the Polish old lady version of John Wick.
Yeah.
I was thinking that same reference. This is like a Polish John Wick where the dog dies and he goes on a rampage. But I felt I was kind of proud of myself because listening to the first chapter as an audiobook, and she talks about rifling through the photos in Bigfoot's room, and she finds one, And she says something like her, she just catches her breath and the world stopped. It was very dramatic language, but then you never hear about that photo again. So the back of my head is like, I bet that photo is going to be like Chekhov's gun, where you're going to introduce it and it's going to pay off at some point. And then throughout the whole windy weirdness of the book, I forgot about it until she referenced it again. I'm like, yes, of course. And Dennis, you mentioned that you felt like the reveal or whatever was a bit of a cheat. But I disagree, because I went back and I was really impressed with how the author was able to kind of all along the way seed these little hints and things, which sometimes other mysteries I've read, it's done very heavy-handedly, where this is the red herring and this is a clue, where when you go back and kind of look, it's like, yeah, no, knowing what we know after finishing the book, going back, it's all there. Even talking about, did she kill the priest or not? She was talking about the little magpies she saw. And then she says something like, and the magpies are fire bringers or something like that. And so the next scene is like, the church is on fire. Like, okay, yeah. I mean, the magpies in her mind told her to do it.
Yeah. She was quite the character. Like you said, there were clues throughout, like when they mentioned she was an athlete, did track and field and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And she mentioned when she was revealing everything that, yeah, her event was the hammer throw.
Right.
So
Yes.
and she'd mentioned before too that she was strong. She's full of contradictions, right? She's strong and fit, but at the same time, her afflictions can cause her to be bedridden for periods of time. So she's capable of it when she's feeling good. She was fit and strong enough to win medals in her local competitions. That whole thing about Oddball, I think it was Oddball who was saying, like, why do you have all that stuff in your trunk? You know? And I realized when I was looking back on it, it wasn't established at the beginning that she carried a lot of stuff in her trunk. That's just something that got mentioned about halfway through, and then Oddball seemed a little disconcerted about it. So it's like, that's the point where it seems like maybe... Okay, so here's a question that just occurred to me. When do you think her friends figured this out?
Oh, I don't think they figured it out until the end, when they were all at her place deliberating.
But they were starting to get nervous, weren't they? Like when Oddball was asking her about the stuff in her trunk, he seemed to be like, well, people are going to get a weird impression with all the stuff you're carrying.
Like, I think it was after the president's body was found, because it was known that she was going to drive him home at the end of the mushroom pickers ball. So I think people were like, oh, so you drove the president home and then he was found dead. Like, that's weird, huh?
Yeah, like that was the closest she was ever connected to one of the deaths. Like the other ones were kind of like circumstantial, like, oh, saw the person the day before. But that one, it was a room full of party goers and knew that she was probably the last person.
And she was dressed as a wolf.
Yes.
Except that she claimed that she hadn't seen him and no one else had seen him leave with her. So they knew that she was supposed to give him a ride. Yeah. But no one actually saw...
No, but
off.
Like she mentioned to several people, I'll be driving him home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we're talking about people like Oddball and the president stuff, we should probably mention that she has an interesting quirk where she likes to assign people names in the most part. There's a couple exceptions where I think Boris, the entomologist, she thinks his name is appropriate. I figure because beetles bore through woods. Maybe that's why she thought Boris. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. But like, for example, Bigfoot, she gave that name to because he had big feet. She saw his footprints in the snow. Oddball, just because his name was weird, I think. And
I guess she finds him a little weird. Like he's very fastidious and tidy.
Yeah. And I couldn't quite figure out, like, she has a friend who runs a secondhand clothing store who's just referred to as Good News. And I just think that would be a lovely way to be known, isn't it?
Yeah.
What other name? Dizzy.
But that's close to his actual name.
Yeah. That one is. And then the president. And he's not a president of any kind of, like, political thing. He's the president of the Mushroom Picking Society. But also a person who is pretty, like, proud of himself. And high in society. And I think maybe I would have caught on to the mystery sooner if I had made the connection that everyone that was dying were hunters. I don't think I made that connection until much later in the book. And then once you make that connection, you're like, okay, if they're all hunters, well, who hates hunters and poachers? There's one main character. But for me, I was still trying to figure out the angle of, okay, well, the commandant had that money on him, and they talked about Innard being some kind of a criminal, and maybe there was like trafficking. And so I kept thinking, okay, maybe there's some kind of weird conspiracy, and maybe there was, but those were definitely false leads, weren't they?
Yeah.
the mystery. Yeah.
But they felt very organic and like natural. It was easy to think that those were the main causes because it makes total sense. And there's just enough information there to make that seem plausible.
Yeah, like to our rational minds, we can buy that more than we can buy a bunch of deer, lying in wait for someone in a car to stop, And
Although I do love that.
The idea of the deer.
All the animals rising up and having a revolution.
Yeah, which I think was part of why, like, when she was writing to the police and telling other people that theory, it's not that she wanted the animals harmed, but just have the idea out there that if you keep mistreating them, they will take their revenge. And that may be trying to dissuade people from hunting.
Well, that's her whole purpose, is to try to get people to stop hunting. She feels very strongly about that. And
I did love that scene at the whatever it was, the consecration of the St. Hubert Chapel, where she speaks truth to power in the middle of the sermon. And it's interesting. I don't know if your copy had this, but at the end of the ones that we had, the author talks about how she actually cribbed Father Russell's sermon from actual sermons written by, I guess, priests who were blessing hunters and stuff. So all of his talk was actually taken from historical, not even that historical, sources.
I also looked up Saint Hubert or Hubert, and the story she tells about him is correct, where he was hunting and he came across this animal who had like a cross on its forehead, and then he decided not to take pity, and then became the saint of hunters, which is so weird.
A lot of saints are like that, though. Yeah. They're known for something, and their origin story seems very at odds with how they are interacted with in the present.
I kept waiting to see if there was any connections to rotisserie chicken.
Yeah, same.
But there was not.
I wonder, though, if the chain is named after that saint.
Well, I looked it up, and the chain is apparently it started in a town of Saint Hubert, Quebec. And so, and I think the town was named for the saint.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was a rotisserie place with.
It's like Quebec's. Quebec. Yeah, it's like Quebec's version of Swiss chalet.
Oh, okay.
But delicious.
Yeah. I had the same thoughts.
But delicious.
No, that's on a slate to Swiss Chalet, which I know is one of our sponsors. I do apologize to the good people.
That weird liquidy sauce you get. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Did St. Hubert's do that? The sauce? I don't think they do. Yeah. It's not quite that weird tartness where you're like, this is barbecue sauce. It's like, no, it's like a. And do you remember? I don't know if they still do this because we don't have Swiss Chalets here anymore. But they used to provide finger bowls.
Oh yeah, with a lemon in it.
Yeah, a little ramekin with warm water because I guess people were eating chicken with their hands.
Well, yeah.
I don't. And the ribs, I guess.
Chicken with bone in, like you.
Yeah, I
gotta pick it up.
So I don't ever remember eating it. Yeah, but I do remember the finger bowls.
Yeah,
so great.
Well, thanks for joining us on Time to Rotisserie. The restaurant review podcast of Winnipeg Public Library.
2 restaurant chains that no longer exist in Manitoba, and one never did.
I didn't even realize Swiss Chalet was totally gone.
I think they are. Oh. I think there might be one in Brandon.
Okay. Yanina would not go to Swiss Chalet.
She would not.
No.
Not even for the vegetarian quiche.
And she's a vegetarian, but this is not like she doesn't go on tears about not eating meat or she's not like one of those militant vegetarians. This really is not a big part of it, which is surprising considering how much she loves animals.
Yeah.
I was reading some reviews of this book earlier today, and apparently there was some criticism in Poland because of the way she was talking about the traditions of hunting. So, yeah. I mean, the character is in a place where hunting is a traditional thing and well established and well respected. And Yanina clearly despises it, thinks it's the most evil thing in the world. And so, yeah, a lot of people took umbrage with the way that they were described. Also, the way she described religion, I guess. I mean, that priest was an asshole.
yeah, he was. Even when he came to comfort her about her dogs. And,
don't even think about it. They're just animals. Yeah. You pray for my dogs. For yourself.
Yeah, it's not thinking about them as anything.
I know.
Like, what the hell?
Oh, that was to me like one of the worst things. Like, it's a sin to think of your animals this way. And it's like, where are we losing the compassion? Like, I can understand still thinking that it's fine to hunt animals, but I don't know. I don't see a disconnect between that and loving your pets. But to like tell someone it's a sin to love your pets that much,
Yeah.
I don't know where that comes from.
I think I was tone deaf.
Yeah.
All the more reason to kill him.
Murder him.
Yeah.
For sure. Lay it up.
Well, and so, yeah, ultimately, she kills all these people because she suspects one of them killed her dogs, but she doesn't know who. And also, they're all hunters. And,
They're all complicit.
yeah, so,
Does John Wick know who kills his dog?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He knows exactly who.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was like the dog was killed. He knew it, like there were a bunch of bad guys, and he went after them all. But
Yeah, there was one person he was specifically going after, and then the others that were with him at the time, and then all the other people he killed was because they were trying to stop him from killing that one guy.
right. I know this is totally not related to the book, but there were like 4 chapters, something like that.
Yeah.
And they all kind of continued right after like they're kind of like the next one picks up pretty much like right after, right? Like in terms of timelines, like it's not like 6 months later and John Wick is sitting around like, there's still a guy I didn't kill. Like I feel like they kind of run together, right? Like
I don't remember.
Well, in the first one, he killed everyone he needed to kill, and then other stuff happens because of everything he did to do that.
okay,
But they do seem to continue directly on. At least I've only seen the first 2.
I may have only seen the first 2 as well because I feel like that was a really intense week for him. If that was all like one thing after another. But,
I've seen all of them, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
And I only watch them because I love Keanu Reeves.
sure,
Yeah.
I like that hotel too. That was like the safe zone.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, it's very cool.
Anyway, but there's no
Holiday
hotel
dances
in
give
this
us the
book.
eye.
I like in this book how everyone underestimates Yanina. She's just this little old lady with her shopping bags and her ailments, and no one pays her any mind. But like over the course of the novel, you find out more and more things about her. You're like, wait, you were an engineer? Wait, you were an athlete? And the people that once dismissed her realize they have made a grave mistake.
Yeah. There's the thing, too, like, she is a very eccentric character. She holds a lot of interesting beliefs, especially around animals and astrology. But she's capable of carrying on very serious discussions and displaying a breadth of knowledge. Like you say, she's easy to underestimate, and people do that. I don't know how many times I've met someone like that in real life, too, where it's, they're perceived a certain way, but if you get past the initial perception, there's a lot of depth, and this character had a lot of depth.
We haven't even talked about William Blake.
Yeah.
Right, because the title of the book, Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead, is a quotation from William Blake.
At the beginning of every chapter, there's a line. Apparently, they're all from the same poem, Auguries of Innocence. And the character loves Blake, and her student loves Blake, and they're translating it.
Yeah. And
Which
she
brings us to that
capitalizes-
and she
capitalizes proper nouns, just like Blake.
Oh, is that? I was trying to figure out why there were certain words capitalized, which I only found out after I started reading the book, not listening to it.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I wondered too if that was because, like in German, you capitalize proper nouns. You capitalize a lot of nouns in German. I wasn't sure if it was the same in Polish, so I thought, is this because of a translation thing?
No, I think it's because of her
because
love of Blake. That's something that like those 18th century romantic poets did
Okay.
to like give weight to something.
It did seem like she would
noticed
capitalize words that were really important to her, like things that she
Yes.
believed in. Like,
Animals.
I did notice that the last quarter of the book had less of that than the start of the book. Like at
Or
the
did you just get used to it?
No.
Didn't notice it? No.
No, I actually noticed that they weren't as capitalized as often towards the end of the book, especially when they're finally revealing that she had killed these guys. Suddenly it wasn't a lot of capitalized words anymore. So, if you've read writings from people who suffer certain mental health conditions, you will often see things like lots of capitalization. So I wasn't sure if it was that, like if they were emphasizing that aspect of herself. But I didn't realize Blake did that.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was also like very, very interested in the natural world and preserving the innocence of it. So
Yeah. The only thing I know about him was from the Wikipedia article I read, and it did mention that he was like not recognized in his time.
Yes.
And considered mad.
Yeah, he did those like illuminated books, like the books with pictures. And I printed one of his most famous poems, if anyone cares, the Tiger, Tiger, Burning Bright. You probably have a passing familiarity with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. Or no, maybe we can't. Copyright reasons, we cannot. It's fairly long.
Yeah, it's not that long. I mean, it's old enough that the copyright would be.
It was from the
expired,
1800s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have to worry about copyright on that.
I don't know how to rhyme I with symmetry, though.
Symmetry.
Symmetry, yeah.
Some poems, they do that a lot where there's no obvious rhyme by the way the word sounds.
I feel like there was like
some sort of
maybe
a
like in the
cheat.
like there was a like 200, 300 years ago that was a legit way because there's like that John Donne poem about
Death, be not proud.
Yeah, with death, eternal lie, death, thou shalt be no more, death, thou shalt die. And I'm like, that's not how you rhyme. But I think maybe that was kind of a convention.
And words sounded differently too, right? Like pronunciation has changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And doesn't he write tiger with a Y?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spelling used to be more fluid.
Yes. I like that, though. Tiger.
Fearful symmetry.
I had also read something about this book in, that passage where her and Dizzy are translating Blake, and there's like different stanzas translated slightly differently. I guess the translator who translated this book had to translate. So in the original Polish book, even though those words are written by William Blake, they're in Polish. So they were translated from English to Polish for that book. And then the translator had to like translate them back into English. Oh. Yeah. So and it was just commending her on the great job because
it was like she was playing a game of telephone with herself.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
No, I thought while reading it that, considering that they're translating English work into Polish and we're reading the Polish work that was translated into English, that at some point it's, just gone back and forth.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, like in the original Polish version, were the William Blake quotations at the beginning of each chapter in English, you wonder? Or, I mean, I don't know. Maybe everything was Polish.
I assume everything was Polish, except the time when she quotes The Doors.
Right.
Yeah.
When they're all listening to Riders on the Storm.
Yeah.
That's
right. So at the end of the book, we realize that she's the killer because of the way she starts talking, right? Like, they're coming to visit me now. It's all at an end or something like that. Like she's talking as if the game is up.
Yeah. She kind of like tells us how she did it, especially like murdering the innard. She goes into great detail about how she set the snare for him. And
Yeah, but then her friends, we don't hear their discussion on it or anything, but they're suddenly like, okay, we got to get her out of here. Like, we got to rescue her, protect her. That surprised me a little bit. I don't know, just you suddenly find out your friend is a murderer, and it's like, okay, well, we're all for it. Let's help her move and get someplace safe.
I guess, like, as they were her friends and they're looking at the whole person, and they're like, like
they also didn't like the hunters.
No, and it kind of really blurs the morality, right? Like, is she a bad person? Well, sort of, but did she do bad things? Yes, but in the whole, like, were those good people she killed? Not really. And
is killing a person different from killing an animal?
Right. And so maybe that's what all went into the thought process. But it was a little surprising. But I think I would have been more surprised if her friends turned her in.
Well, I wasn't. I think at that point also the police were going to come by. They'd already come by to her house, and she'd managed to hide from them. Yeah. So at that point it seems like the cops had figured it out, or at least had a strong suspicion.
I did quite like, with all of her belief and talk in astrology, that the literal planet Venus guided her to over the border at the end. That that there was a very tangible astronomical reason. That her damsel, she called it, or damsel, damsel.
And she gets to just live with Boris.
Yeah,
in the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Which is a wonderful place where even the language itself cannot be used to cause disagreement.
Yes.
Yeah. And if Blake were here today, he would say, "The fall of man has not yet occurred." I think it's one quotation.
Yeah. It sounds like a utopia over there.
Yeah. I mean, the grass is always greener, though.
They've got their things.
I'm sure they've got their things.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait until you read the next murder mystery novel set in the Czech Republic.
Right.
Yeah, I felt, to me, the ending kind of rushed up on me. Like, I was very surprised by the ending.
I felt like it was a good climax because she has this outburst in the church with Father Russell, and then that kind of leads to her getting fired, and I think Dizzy also gets fired, and it just like things are coming to a head, and so I thought it was kind of a good moment for her to confess, and then for the final moments.
Like I say, it made sense in retrospect, but it caught me off guard when it happened. But that confrontation with the priest in the church, that was pretty intense.
Yeah, with all the kids around.
Yeah, she's in the same row with them all in their little costumes, ready to do the little pantomime for St. Hubert. Yeah,
and they're all kind of shocked. And
And who's going to teach the kids English now?
Yeah.
We're about the time where we would start moving on. Do we have any final comments we want to make about the book? Or do we think we've said everything that needs to be said?
I really like the Mushroom Pickers Ball. That's all I want to mention. We didn't talk about that at all, but with like Oddball dressed as Little Red Riding Hood and Yanina as the wolf, and like it's so charming.
It kind of sort of had Gilmore Girls feel to it.
Yeah, and just the fact that there is this Mushroom Pickers Society, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, and even the Mushroom Pickers Society, they can't all agree on everything. Yeah. Okay, well, I think we've already said at the beginning that we all thought it was a pretty good book and definitely worth reading. So, yeah, let us know what you think about it, dear reader. So now we will go on to our next segment called Can You Tell Me a Book I Would Also Like? Who would like to share a book first?
I'm happy to go. Full disclosure, I have not read this book, but this book was one of the inspirations for our author, Olga Tokarczuk's main character, Yanina. So this book is called The Hearing Trumpet by Leonora Carrington. It's an older book. It's from 1974, surrealist novel by a Mexican-British author named Leonora Carrington. And the similarities to Yanina are very clear. The central character is an eccentric older woman, Marion. She's 92. And a friend of hers gives her an ear trumpet because she's hard of hearing, and she overhears her family conspiring to send her to an old folks home, which she does eventually have to go to. But this old folks home is run by a surreal and kind of like a cult. So once she gets there, she makes friends with a lot of the other elderly women that live in this place, and they decide to take things into their own hands and shape the world in their own image, apparently. And then there's all kinds, it gets even weirder and weirder, but I like one of the reviews of the book. It said, this person, Gabrielle Annan, in her review, said that the writing is as neat, dry, and witty as the content is wild, woolly, and portentous. I thought, if I ever write something, I'd love someone to call it wild and woolly. And another reviewer said that the book was one of the most original, joyful, satisfying, and quietly visionary novels of the 20th century. Fundamentally, The Hearing Trumpet is a book about profound disconnection. At its center are people unable to hear each other or unwilling to. So for what it's worth, if you want to see some of the seeds of inspiration for Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead, The Hearing Trumpet by Leonora Carrington is one of those books.
The book I'm recommending this month is called The Wall by Marlene Haushofer. This is a book that's also by a European female author. The book was originally written in German. It was published in 1963. I, of course, read the English translation that was published in 1990. And it has some similarities, but I read this book within the last few months, and I really want other people to read it because I really want someone to talk to about it because it's fascinating. It's about this woman who's vacationing in the Austrian mountains, and she wakes up one day and there's this invisible wall that has cut her off from the rest of the world. And so she's essentially the last person on Earth in the Austrian mountains. She has a cow who's crucial to her survival, and she has a dog and she has a cat, and she just has to learn how to live on her own in the wilderness. So like Drive Your Plow, it's female Eastern European author, but also just like a really original, thought-provoking story with a bit of an eccentric character. I mean, she has a lot of existential crises, as you would if you were the last person on Earth. But it's so fascinating, such an interesting concept, and someone read it so we can talk about it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to recommend for this one because unlike anything else that I've read. I briefly thought of suggesting Smilla's Sense of Snow because there's a murder and there's snow and, but then I thought Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, which is by Douglas Adams. It's a comedy, has a very unconventional detective. Then when I got to the end of the book, I thought neither of those really works, and I had to go searching through for books that I wasn't at all familiar with. So I came up with The Extinction of Irina Ray by Jennifer Croft. 8 translators arrive at a house in a primeval Polish forest on the border of Belarus. It belongs to the world-renowned author Irina Ray, and they are there to translate her magnum opus, Grey Eminence. But within days of their arrival, Irina disappears without a trace. The translators, who hail from 8 different countries but share the same reverence for their beloved author, begin to investigate where she may have gone while proceeding with the work on the masterpiece. They explore this ancient wooded refuge with its intoxicating slime molds and lichens and study her exotic belongings and layer text for clues, but doing so reveals secrets and deceptions of Irina Ray's that they are utterly unprepared for. Forced to face their differences as they grow increasingly paranoid in this fever dream of isolation and obsession, soon the translators are tangled in a web of rivalries and desire, threatening not only their work, but the fate of their beloved author herself. So, yeah, I haven't read this, but it ticks a lot of boxes, so maybe you would find it interesting too. And now for our most stimulating segment, Nerd Words for Word Nerds, in which we introduce a word or phrase and try to articulate why we wanted to share it.
Should I go first now?
Sure, please.
There's a lot of really good words in this book. I wrote down a lot of them as I was reading it, and it's interesting because it's translated, so it's hard to know exactly how those words were originally written. But one of the words I wrote down as I was reading was I have to think about how to say this. Polyonymous. There we go. Polyonymous. So that's an adjective that means having or known by many names. I thought it was particularly suited to Yanina, as she calls all her friends and neighbors by these epithets and has some very strong opinions about names. So it comes from the Greek word poly, which is many, and the onymous part comes from onoma, which means name. And there are many similar words that derive from, well, not similar words, but just descendants of onoma, which means name, like anonymous, which having no name, pseudonym, a false name, eponym, someone who lends their name to something or a word that comes from someone's name, and patronymic, a name taken from one's father. And even the word name itself, which is derived from the Greek word onoma, makes it a distant cousin of all of these name-related words. So there you go, polyonymous.
That made me think of a couple of clues, too, to Yanina, was that she said she liked to be called Medea, who was a sorceress. And what was the other word it was another name that meant warrior. So I thought those were kind of two good descriptions. But my word also comes from the book this month, and it's a term I had never heard before. Maybe you'd heard of it, trotters. And trotters simply are the hooves of animals, in this case specifically of deer. So I had to look it up. I wasn't sure what they were talking about, but I quite like this word, and I find it so descriptive. Deer's trot. And so these little hooves are their trotters. And it's not all that different from us maybe referring to our running shoes as runners or our hiking boots as hikers. Trotters are part of the family of meat known as offal. It's spelled O-F-F-A-L, but they really do sound awful. Another term that's used for offal, which is sort of like the extras from an animal, is called the fifth quarter. And in Italian, I love it. It's called the quinto quattro. And where this term came from was that if you were to butcher an animal, the offal in Roman cooking is at least as great as any of the other quarters. So it is like the fifth quarter. But where the four quarters comes from is that until modern times, the division of the cattle in Rome was made following this simple scheme. The first quattro was destined to be sold to the nobles and was the finest meat. The second one was for the clergy. The third one for the bourgeoisie. And finally, the fourth quattro was for the soldiers. And the poor proletariat could only afford the entrails or the offal or the trotters. So that's my word, trotters.
We got many words.
I did, yeah. It was a real smorgasbord of words this time. And a rabbit's trotter is lucky.
Well, not for the rabbit. That's what always confused me as a kid when you get a lucky rabbit's foot. It's like, but what happened to the rabbit? So my word is not directly from the novel. I am going with peregrination. So peregrination, a couple of definitions. a person's life regarded as a temporary stay on Earth and a journey to the afterlife, a journey made by a pilgrim, a pilgrimage, or a journey or trip especially by foot. So I was hanging out with a friend recently that I often take long walks with, and she mentioned the word peregrination as a way to describe a long walk. And I just really like this word because I like the sound of it. It makes me think of peregrine falcons.
Is it related?
It is, because that whole definition of like a wandering journey, the name peregrine falcons literally means wandering falcons, which is appropriate because they are the most widespread raptors in the world, found on all major ice-free land masses except for the islands of New Zealand.
Whoa, why? I wonder why not in New Zealand.
Because the islands there are very far from
But if
else.
they've managed to get everywhere else.
The major land masses, yeah.
Like
But
New
New Zealand
to
is
Australia.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's
The-
another few hundred kilometers?
The only birds that are more widespread are the pigeons, and those are partly because humans have carried them all around.
I feel like now that you're making this public, there's somebody out there that's going to try to introduce peregrine falcons to New Zealand.
Maybe, because people have reintroduced peregrines to Winnipeg, and that's why we have peregrines that nest in Winnipeg regularly since 1989, thanks to the Peregrine Falcon Recovery Project. And they have a webcam of nests, so we'll add a link to the show notes in case you want to see it. I did look at it yesterday, and it
It's
didn't seem
downtown,
active.
isn't it?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
hotel, the Fairmont, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem to be active right now. I don't know if they only turn it on when they're nesting, and I think they're past the nesting, but it's got little summaries of what's happened with them, and the summaries are really cute because you can tell it's people who are really like into the falcons who are like, oh yeah, they had this little baby and he's so adorable. Yeah, so peregrination is my word. And unfortunately, that is all the time we have for this month. Thank you so much for joining us, dear readers. For next month, we're going to read and discuss The Telling of Lies by Timothy Findley. The body is that of Calder Maddox, who owned half the world and rented the other half. The sleuth is Nessa Van Horn, whose photos of the beach on the day of the murder may obscure more than they reveal. The suspects are the many people who spend their summers at the beautiful Aurora Sands Hotel. Could it be Lily, Calder's diaphanous mistress, or Nigel, the perfect civil servant, or the disappearing chauffeur, or the mysterious doctor who appears from nowhere? Timothy Findley spins an intimate tale of patrician murder among the summering clientele of a soon-to-be-raised, elegant old hotel on the coast of Maine. Have comments or book suggestions for us? Send us an email. You can find all our contact info at the bottom of the page at wpl-podcast.winnipeg.ca. You can also find all our past episodes there too. If you haven't already, subscribe to Time to Read on your favorite podcasting service. Maybe leave us a review. Tell your book-loving friends about us too. And until next time, make sure you find time to read.
All I need is time to read. All I need is time to read. All I need is time to read. All I ever really need is a little more time to read.
I'm always thrown by Dance's question of, so how did you find it? So I actually wrote that in my notes this time. So how did you find it? And I based my comments on that. And I don't know why I'm thrown by it because he asks it every month.
Well, now Dennis is going to switch it up.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, I guess now you'll have to wait and see if I say it or not. Am I feeling beneficent, or am I going to be like, so, what are your initial thoughts?